doing things right
你要喺佢做正確嘅事嘅時候去欣賞佢，
and express appreciation.
而表達你嘅欣賞。
Now, sometimes it might be the effort they put forward.
有時可能係佢哋嘅努力。
My first 3 children won every year the science fair.
我前3個小朋友每一年喺個科學嘅比賽，佢哋都贏嘅。就算唔理喺學校或者喺成個州，佢哋都係冠
My
軍。
4th daughter didn't,
我第4個女兒，
but she really wanted to.
佢好想咁做，
And she didn't even place.
佢根本冇機會。
And I could see she was disappointed.
我可以睇到佢好失望，
So I leaned over to her.
我就同佢講：
Boy, did this impact her to this day.
呢個到今日都影響緊佢。
I said, honey,
我話 Honey，
I know you wanted to win.
我知道你想贏，
I know you wanted to place.
我知道你想喺嗰度有個名次，
I'm so sorry you didn't.
我非常之抱歉你未有呢個
And I put
機
my
會，
arm around her.
我就攬住佢。
And I said, daughter, I want you to know something.
我話女兒，我想你知道一件事，
I so appreciate all the effort you put forward on this project.
我好欣賞你喺成個 project 當中嘅努
I
力，
appreciate all that you learned and what you did.
我欣賞你喺呢個過程中所學習嘅、所做嘅嘢。
And I said, Heather,
我話 Heather，
if you do that in other areas of life,
如果你喺你嘅生命嘅其他範疇咁做的話咧，
you're going to impact your world.
你會影響呢個世界。
She's never forgotten that to this day.
到今日佢都冇忘記呢句
And
話。
is that young lady making a difference?
你話呢個女孩子而家係咪令到世界有唔同
I
呢？
expressed appreciation for her effort.
我讚賞佢嘅努力。
A number of times,
好多時候，
I expressed appreciation for my children's attitude,
我為咗我細佬哥嘅啲睇法去欣賞佢哋。
where my oldest daughter could have lost her temper.
我嘅大嘅女可能好唔開心，可能會發脾氣，
And she didn't.
而佢當時冇，
And I'd step right in.
我就話俾佢聽
Oh, Kelly,
，Kelly，
I so appreciate you.
我好欣賞你。
You could really have lost your temper with that person,
可能喺嗰陣時就發咗脾氣，
but you didn't.
但係你冇咁做，
I really appreciate that.
我好欣賞你。
How do you think it made my daughter feel?
你估我嘅女兒會點諗呢？
On top of the world.
當然非常之開心。
What do you think she did the next time she could have lost her temper?
你估下次佢想發脾氣嗰時，佢會點諗？
She held it back.
佢會控制住佢自己。
The principle is
個原則就係、
catch them doing things right
佢哋做正確嘅事嘅時候，你要去欣賞佢，
and express appreciation.
且你要讚賞佢哋。
In my life, I've traveled a lot.
喺我生命當中，我去過好多地方。
When I would come home from a tour,
我每次翻到屋企，
we usually live about an hour away from the airport.
通常我哋住喺一個離開機場1個鐘頭嘅地
I'd
方。
always call Dottie the moment we landed,
我每次嚟到機場嗰時，我就打電話俾我太太，
and she was always ready
佢都準備好㗎啦。
to share one thing in each one of my children that they had really done special.
佢會話俾我聽，我4個小朋友每一個人做得好好嘅一件事。
I'd pull up to the house.
咁我翻到屋企，
My kids would run out.
我小朋友就嚟到我
One
跟前，
after another would jump into my arms,
佢哋會攬住我，
and I'd whisper in their ear,
我就喺佢嘅耳朵當中講
Katie,
：Katie，
your mom told me what you did at school today.
你媽媽話俾我聽，你今日喺學校裏邊做咗件事，
I so appreciate what you did.
我好欣賞你所做嘅嘢，
I'm so proud of you.
我對你非常之
I gotta tell you.
高興。
That's the kind of daddy children want to come home every night.
我話俾你聽，所有嘅小朋友都中意咁嘅爸爸翻到屋企。
Let's say you're at work.
你可能喺工作嘅時候，
You're a real estate agent,
你可能係做地產經紀嘅，
and you just sold a huge condominium.
你可能賣咗一個好大嘅單位，
And right in front of everybody at the office,
喺 office 裏邊每個人嘅面前，
the manager says to you,
你嘅上司話俾你聽，
as an adult,
對你一個大人
everyone could hear it.
喺所有人都可以聽得到嘅時候，
Lee,
佢話 Lee，
pretty good name, isn't it? I mean,
Not bad.
It's a lot of Lees.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Lee,
佢話呢，
thank you for the
多謝你。
contract you got.
你買咗層樓，
We really appreciate you.
我哋非常欣賞。
How would that make you feel as an adult?
你如果作為一個成年人，你會點諗咧？
On top of the world, wouldn't it?
你會唔會好高興咧？
With our children, it's 10 times more.
對小朋友嚟講咧，係10倍嘅興奮。
That is the beginning of family.
呢個就係一個家庭嘅開始。
And then before the break, let's go to number 3.
喺我哋個 break 之前咧，睇第3點，
Availability.
就係你要有時間。
When we are available to our children,
當我哋俾時間俾我哋嘅小朋友，
it says one thing to that child.
你講咗一個訊息俾佢，
I am important to my daddy.
我對我嘅爸爸係重要嘅，
I am important to my mom.
我對我嘅媽媽係重要嘅。
Kids look at time you spend with them to how important they are to you.
小朋友對於佢喺你心目中有幾重要咧，係睇你有幾多時間同佢喺埋一齊，
Not the presents you buy them,
唔係你買俾佢嘅禮物，
how much time you spend with them.
係你同佢花咗幾多時間喺一齊。
Are you available to them?
你有冇時間同你嘅小朋友一齊咧？
That's truly the only thing that says to a child, I am important.
呢個就係你令到你嘅小朋友覺得我係好重要嘅。
In the book of Matthew,
喺馬太福音裏邊，
Jesus was doing some mighty works.
耶穌做緊好多好大嘅事，
He was praying for people.
佢為好多人祈禱。
Boy, how'd you like Jesus to lay his hands on you?
我相信你哋大家都好想耶穌同你按手祈禱。
He was preaching the gospel.
佢將福音去傳揚開佢，
He was turning stones into noodles.
佢將石頭變成快熟麵。
And he heard this commotion.
佢聽到好大嘅聲音，
And he turned around.
佢轉個身嚟。
Remember? There were these parents, probably the mothers,
呢啲父母親可能多數係媽媽，
with their children to see the Messiah.
帶住佢嘅小朋友去見個救主，
They wanted a blessing.
佢哋要佢去同呢啲小朋友祈禱。
Wouldn't you love to have Jesus bless your child?
你都想你嘅小朋友受到耶穌
They
嘅
wanted a
祈禱
photograph.
佢哋要同耶穌一齊影相。
They called them lithographs.
Lithograph。
They called them lithographs.
OK，佢哋叫做小影相。I think we got through.
Yeah. When you come to America, I'll translate for you.
Be my pleasure.
No, it'll be agony. Remember what the disciples were doing?
你記唔記得啲門徒點做咧？
They were keeping them away from Jesus.
佢哋將啲小朋友移開，
Can't you see he's busy?
話俾佢聽，你唔知耶穌而家好忙咩？
He's doing God's work.
佢而家做緊上帝嘅工作，
Come back later.
你遲啲再翻嚟啦。
Look, lady, get a number.
佢話：女士，你要攞個牌子，攞個號碼。
Do you remember what Jesus said?
你記唔記得耶穌點講咧？
Forsake not those little children to come unto me.
讓小孩子嚟到我呢度，唔要禁止佢哋。
You think you're too busy?
你以為你好忙，
You're not even the Messiah.
你都唔係救世主，
You don't have the burden of the world upon your shoulders.
你冇成個世界嘅壓力喺你嘅肩膊上邊。
I'm available.
我有時間，
Forsake not those
你唔好
children
禁止
that
佢
come
哋
unto me.，
你要將所有嘅小朋友嚟到我嘅面前。
It breaks my heart.
佢令到我好傷心。
How many times I have forsaken my children.
好多時候我都禁止我嘅小朋友嚟到我嘅跟前，
And it hurts.
呢個令到我好傷心。
Not now, Kelly.
唔係而家 Kelly，
I've got an appointment downtown
我要去見一個人，
later tonight.
可能今晚啦。
Katie, I'm tired.
Katie，我而家好攰，
Later.
我哋遲啲再傾。
Heather, I've got to pack to leave when I get home.
Heather，我而家要收拾行李，因為我要走啦。等我翻嚟先啦。
Sean, I wanted to watch this football game all week.
所以我唔知道點解你成個星期每一日都有球賽。
When the game's over.
等你睇完嘅時候，
Every time I was saying to my child,
我每次同我嘅小孩子咁講，
you are not as important as.
你同呢件事比較冇咁重要，
And it breaks my heart.
佢令到我非常傷心。
Now you ladies are going to think I'm crazy.
所有嘅女士可能覺得我係黐咗線嘅，
You men won't.
你啲男人就唔會。
You men will know what I'm talking about.
你會知道我講緊係乜嘢，
You women won't.
啲女士就唔會嘅。
I didn't see it.
我唔明白，
I wasn't aware of it.
我就根本係唔明白。
Isn't that horrible?
呢個真係好令人
Here was a
傷
father.
心。我係一個父親，
And I really didn't see I wasn't available to my kids.
我完全唔明白，原來我冇時間俾我嘅小朋友，
That I didn't spend time with them.
我冇同佢哋一齊。
You see,
你要了解一樣嘢，
as fathers,
作為父親，
we judge ourselves based upon our intentions.
我哋對我哋嘅睇法係關於我哋自己嘅諗法，
Our children judge us based upon our actions.
但係我哋嘅小朋友睇我哋咧，就係喺我哋嘅行動。
And usually with a man,
通常一個男人咧，
there's a huge gap between actions and intentions.
我哋嘅諗法同埋我哋行動之間有好大嘅距離。
Well, I intended to.
我希望咁做，
That says nothing to a child.
但係呢個對個小朋友係冇意義嘅。
Where was I? My mind just went blank. Oh.
我諗起啦，
I didn't see it.
我唔明白，
I was blind to it.
我完全睇唔到。
But guess what?
但係你諗一諗，
My children's mother saw it.
我孩子嘅媽媽睇得到，
And Dottie comes to me and says,
多啲就嚟到我面前話俾我聽，
Honey, we need to talk.
佢話我哋需要去傾傾呢件事。佢好
You
傷心。
men know you're in trouble.
所有嘅男人都知道喺咁嘅情況之下，你就有災難啦。
When your wife says,
當你嘅太太話
we need to talk,
我哋需要傾一傾嘅時候，
you know you're in trouble.
你就知道你有難㗎啦。
I never understood why my wife would say we.
我從來都唔明白點解我太太話我哋，
She did all the talking.
因為所有都佢講晒㗎啦。
It's the same way with Chinese women, isn't it?
我相信
Yeah.
我相信中國人都一樣。
He's gonna. She said, honey,
佢話：親愛的，
you're not available to our children.
你冇時間俾我哋嘅小朋友，
You're not spending time with them.
你冇同佢哋一齊。
I was blindsided.
我完全睇唔到，
I thought she was crazy.
我以為佢係黐線嘅，
No,
但係佢唔係，
it's men who are crazy.
係啲男人黐線。
I didn't see it.
我完全唔明白。
Maybe if I had a father who had spent time with me, I would have seen it.
如果我爸爸當時同我有多啲時間喺埋一齊，我可能會明白。
I had no model to see and to be aware that I wasn't spending time with my children.
我冇一個咁嘅模式嘅榜樣去令我了解，我冇時間同我嘅小朋友一齊。
You men know what I'm talking about.
我哋在座嘅男人就知道我講緊乜嘢。
You women are thinking, that's not real.
啲女士就可能話呢個可能係唔
Yes,
正確嘅，但係呢個其實係事實。
I thank God for my wife.
我為咗我太太去多謝神。
I truly never believed a woman could love a man as much as Dottie loves me.
我唔相信一個女人好似多啲咁嚟愛我。
It's humbling.
呢個令到我非常之
It's also
渺小，
exciting.
亦都非常激動。
For 39 years, I got to live with that woman.
有39年嘅時間，我同呢個女人一齊生活，
I stand in awe of my wife,
我非常之驚訝。
and so do my children.
我嘅小朋友都一樣，
They call their mother my shining star.
佢叫我嘅太太叫佢哋嘅明星
I'm not sure what they call me.
，The Dim Star。
What was that? What was that? Come
The Dimmer Star。
on. Make sure I get a tape of this so I can listen to it. My wife loves me so much,
我太太愛我，
and she so wanted me to win as a father.
佢要我作為一個父親而得勝，
She was willing to confront me.
佢會同我去講。
That's so unlike my wife.
我太太一般都唔係咁做嘅，
She's the all-time peacemaker.
佢通常都係個和平嘅使者，
She will run from conflict,
佢從來都唔中意衝突，
except when it comes to her children.
就係除咗關乎佢嘅小朋友嘅事情，
She was willing to confront me.
佢就會同我去傾呢件事。
Now, I'm not the easiest person in the world to confront.
我唔係最容易同人傾談嘅人，
Even when I know I'm wrong, I can persuade you I am right.
就算我知道我係錯嘅，我都會去說服你我冇錯。
She was not only willing to confront me,
佢唔單止可以同我去傾，
she was willing to help me.
佢亦都好願意去幫助我。
Because, ladies,
因為女士們，
this will sound crazy again.
呢個可能你覺得又係好奇怪，
I didn't know what to do.
我真係唔知點做，
I truly didn't know what to do.
我真係唔知道點做。
I never knew you could have a family who loves each other so much.
我從來唔知道一個家庭可以有咁多愛喺裏邊。
I never knew I could have children who would literally die for me.
我唔知道我嘅孩子會為我而死，
But I wouldn't have any of that without Dottie.
但係如果冇多啲的話，呢啲都唔會發生。
I would have destroyed my family.
我會將我成個家庭都摧
Unless
毀，
time and time again,
因為好多嘅時候，
honey, we need to talk.
我太太話：親愛啲，我哋要傾下。
I am so glad I listened to her
我好感謝神，我聽咗佢嘅説話，
most of the time.
多數嘅時候我都聽佢嘅。
I wish I could say I always did. I didn't.
我希望我可以話我一齊都聽佢，但係我並冇咁做。
Men,
所以在座嘅男人，
don't go it alone.
你千祈唔好一個人去，
You won't make it.
你冇辦法成功嘅。
Unless you had the most unbelievable relationship with your daddy, you won't make it.
除非你同你嘅爸爸有好好嘅關係，你係唔會成功嘅。
Listen to the mother of your children.
你要聽你小朋友嘅媽媽嘅忠告。
Besides, they're probably a lot smarter than you are.
通常佢哋都比你聰明好多。
I had to totally change many things in my life.
我生命當中有好多嘢都受到改變。
For example,
有個例子，
this is just one little thing I did that had a big payoff.
呢個係一個好少一件事，但係有好大嘅一個影響。
In my country,
喺我嘅國家，
and I'm sure it's so true in Chinese culture,
我相信喺中國人嘅文化裏邊都一樣。
children are taught you never interrupt an adult.
你都教你啲小朋友唔好去打斷一個大人嘅説話。
Well,
好多時候，
I did the opposite.
我教佢哋另外一樣嘢。
I taught my children.
我教我啲小朋友，
Now, this goes against everything in American culture.
呢個同美國文化係完全唔同嘅。
I taught my children they
我
can
教我哋小孩
always
子，
interrupt me.
佢哋一定可以打斷我嘅説話，
Didn't matter who I was talking to.
唔理我同邊個講話都一樣。
President, Prime Minister,
就算係同總統同首相
king,
講
whatever.
話，或者一個皇帝，
They could always interrupt me
佢哋都可以打斷我嘅説話。
if they did it respectfully.
如果佢哋好尊敬咁去做，
In my country,
喺我嘅國家，
I'm sure it's not true in your country.
我相信喺你嘅國家一定唔同。
That's a joke. That's a joke.
呢個係一個笑話，
Because I know it's true.
因為我知道呢個係正
In
確。
my country,
喺我嘅國家，
here's how a
呢個就係
father would usually handle it.
呢個一個係典型嘅父親會點做？
You're down in front of the church.
你喺教會面前，
You're talking to the pastor.
同你嘅牧師喺度傾緊偈。
And your 6-year-old son or daughter comes up,
你個6歲嘅仔或者係女兒嚟到你面前，
says, Daddy,
話俾你知，爹哋，
Daddy.
爹哋。
With a mother, you have to say it twice. With a father, 4 or 5 times.
對媽媽可能你講2次，但係對爹哋可能要講4、5次。
Daddy,
爹哋，
and then the father
咁呢個父親
in
咧
my country
喺我國家
turns to his son
就會調擰
and
轉面，
says the stupidest,
講到最愚蠢嘅一句説話，
the most idiotic,
最愚蠢嘅説話，
the most ridiculous thing to his child.
最冇道理嘅説話。
Can't you see I'm talking to the pastor?
你睇唔到我同牧師講緊嘢咩？
Kid isn't deaf.
冇，嗰個小朋友唔係聾嘅，
Kid isn't blind.
佢亦都唔係盲嘅。
Of course your kid can see you're talking to the pastor.
當然佢睇到你同牧師講緊話，
What a dumb thing to say.
呢個係最愚蠢嘅一句説話。
Can't you see I'm talking to Mr. So-and-so?
你睇唔到我同某某人講緊話咩？
You know what it says to a child?
你對呢個小朋友講緊乜嘢咧？
My dad doesn't have a grasp of the obvious.
我爸爸根本連咁淺嘅道理都唔明白。
And then the father in my country says something like this.
喺我國家裏邊，所有嘅父親會咁講：
Don't interrupt me.
唔好打斷我説話。
Now you go over there and you sit down.
你去嗰邊坐低，
And you be quiet until I finish talking to Mr. So-and-so.
靜啲，等我同某某人講完話。
What a ridiculous thing to say to a child.
呢個係對一個小朋友最無理嘅説話。
A child can't internalize that.
一個小朋友完全唔會明白，
A child can't understand that.
佢唔可能去了解。
One mother said to me,
有個媽媽咁話俾我聽：
I want to teach my daughter respect.
我要教我嘅女兒點去尊敬別人。
I said, well, don't do it disrespectfully.
你就唔好喺唔尊敬嘅方法去做。
You know what I say to my kids?
你知我點同我嘅小朋友講？
I excuse myself. I'm
Oh,
probably the only one in America that does this.
我會打斷我嘅説話，
I excuse myself to the adult.
同個大人話我要打斷個説話。
Adults usually has more maturity
通常大人係比較成熟嘅，
than a child.
同小朋友比較，
Not always.
但係唔係每一位都係咁。
And so I'll say to the adult,
所以我同個成人話：
excuse me, Pastor,
好，牧師，請你俾我一段時間
but。I believe my daughter needs her daddy's attention.
我嘅女兒需要我去同佢傾下，
And I'll turn my back on the pastor or whoever.
我會轉個身嚟背對住個牧師或者係邊個，
What is it, honey?
我會同個小朋友話咩
Daddy,
事
can
啊？
I, whatever?
個女兒就話：好，爹哋你幫我做啲嘢啦。
Yeah.
我就會話
Be
係，
sure to tell your mother.
你一定要話俾媽媽知。
Okay.
咁我就會去
And
kiss
I'll
佢。
turn to the pastor.
咁我翻嚟同個牧師傾偈。
Now, where were we?
我哋而家講到邊度？
What's wrong with that?
呢個咁做有冇問題咧？
You know what it says to my child?
你知我咁做的話，對我嘅孩子會覺得係點咧？
I'm important to my daddy.
我對我爸爸係非常重要，
I'm more important than the pastor.
我比個牧師更重要。
And when a child feels that,
一個小朋友感覺到呢件事的
they'll
話，
die for you.
佢就會為你而死啦。
I was in Iowa.
我喺美國一個州 Iowa，
It was during the political race in my country for president.
喺呢個總統選舉嘅時候，
And on a Saturday night before the caucus,
喺選舉之前嗰個星期六，
all the candidates are invited to speak 10 minutes each.
所有嘅候選人都嚟到嗰度，有10分鐘嘅時間去
To the
演講，
largest political gathering in the state of Iowa.
同成個埃華州嘅人去
Then
講。
they have one speaker.
佢有每一次有一個講員，
I was the speaker.
而我就係個講員。
All the candidates got 10 minutes. I got 45 minutes.
每一個候選人只有10分鐘，但因為我係個主要講員，我有45分鐘。
I talked about the greatest problem in America,
我將美國最大嘅問題都講出嚟，
which is
就係
the greatest evil committed in America
美國最大嘅問題
is the absent or non-involved daddy.
就係一個唔同佢嘅屋企人喺一齊嘅父
It's
親。
far more evil than terrorism.
呢個比恐怖分子更加係
It's
大，
destroyed more people,
呢個摧毀咗更多人嘅
ruined
生
more
命，
families
令到更多個家庭受損，
than terrorism ever will.
而所有嘅恐怖分子都做唔到呢樣嘢。
The greatest evil in almost every culture in the world
喺所有全世界任何嘅文化國家，最大嘅問題
is the absent or non-involved daddy.
就係一個唔喺度嘅爸爸，或者
So I
係
said-
冇參與嘅爸爸。
Tomorrow morning,
所以我話聽朝
Sunday morning,
係星期日朝，
I'm going to be speaking at such and such church.
我會喺某一個教會講道，
And I invite all of you.
我邀請你哋所有嘅人。
To my amazement, I said,
Oh,
tomorrow
好驚訝。
morning, I'm going to talk about the solution.
我會去話俾你聽個解決方案喺邊度。
Probably half the candidates canceled their schedule and they showed up.
可能一半嘅候選人將佢原來要做嘅嘢都去取消咗，佢嚟到我教
Just
會。
before they introduced me,
喺佢哋介紹我之前，
the President of the United States walks in,
美國總統嚟到，
sits right in the front
坐喺第一排，
with his entourage.
同埋佢嘅所有嘅隨從，
President George W. Bush.
就係布殊總統。
Now, the background of this, we've been friends for years.
呢個背景就係我同佢都係好耐
For
嘅朋
7
友。
years, I wrote speeches for him
有7年嘅時間，我為佢寫佢嘅演講詞，
on themes that related to young people.
同年青人有關嘅課題。
When I finished speaking,
當我講完之後，
instantly the president jumped up
個總統就企起身嚟，
in front of everyone,
喺所有人嘅面
came
前
right up to me and threw his arms around me.
嚟到俾我一個擁抱，
And then the crowd broke up.
而所有人都喺度。
In a little bit, one of my family members walked up.
咁遲啲我有個小朋友嚟到我面前，
And to the president of the United States,
喺個總統嘅面前，
I'm probably the only one that's ever said this ever to a president of the United States.
我可能喺個美國總統面前唯一講過呢句話嘅人。
Said, excuse me, sir,
我話唔好意思啊，總統，
but one of my family members needs to talk to me.
我小朋友要同我講話。
And I turned my back on the president of the United States.
我擰轉身背對住美國總統，
In a little bit, I turned back,
跟住我又再翻嚟，
and he was still standing there.
佢都仲喺度等緊我。
I said, now, where were we, sir?
我話總統，我哋講到邊度啊？
In a little bit, he
講
just
咗一陣之後。
walked out of the church,
然後佢就行咗出去，
never said goodbye.
佢冇同我再講一句話。
That wasn't like him.
呢個同美國同布殊總統唔同。
And we had the kind of relationship you would embrace each other before you walked away.
我同佢通常喺道別嗰時都會有個擁抱。
So I thought, well, maybe I offended him.
我話可能我得罪咗佢。
If I did, that was his problem, not mine.
如果我得罪咗佢，係佢嘅問題，唔係我嘅。
And I believe that.
而我真係相信呢件事。
2 weeks later,
2個星期之後，
I get a note
我收到封信，
on White House stationery.
係白宮嘅信紙嚟嘅。
I even framed it.
我將佢鑲起咗，我將佢鑲起咗。
You would do the same thing.
我相信你一定會同樣做同樣嘅嘢。
And he starts out the note.
佢喺個信嗰度咁寫，
So good to see you.
佢話好高興見到你，
Thank you for what you shared.
多謝你同我哋分享嘅。
Please excuse me for my rudeness
佢話你唔好介意我嗰日好冇禮貌，
when I left without saying goodbye.
因為我嗰日離開嗰時冇同你話再
He
見，
said, you made me feel so guilty.
你令我感到好內疚。
I went out to my limousine.
我去到我車嗰度，
I asked my security to get out.
我叫我啲所有嘅安全人員離
I
開，
had all the doors locked.
我閂起門，
I called my 2 daughters,
我打電話俾我2個女，
talked to them for 1 hour,
同佢哋傾咗1個鐘，
and started out by telling them that I loved them.
而開始話俾佢聽我幾愛佢哋。
Even the United States, the President of the United States,
就算係美國總統，
needs to see a father say, "Excuse me."
都要睇到一個父親話：我要抱歉，要離開一陣。
Do you know what that said to my family?
你覺得呢個對我嘅家庭你有咩
I'm
信
more
息咧？
important than the President of the United States.
我哋比美國總統更加重要。
And guess what?
你覺得點咧？
My children are.
我嘅小朋友的確係，
No one in the world is as important to me as my children and my wife.
世界上冇一個人比我嘅太太同埋我小朋友更
How do I
重要。
demonstrate that?
我點樣去令到佢
They
哋
can always
明白咧
know.？
佢哋一定可以同我
I've
講話。
walked with some of the great people of the world.
我見過好多世界上好偉大嘅人，
Kings, presidents, everything.
皇帝或者係總統，
But my children know
但係我嘅小朋友都知道，
none of them are as important as they are.
冇一位係比佢哋更加重要。
Because I'm always available to my children.
因為我俾我嘅小朋友一定有時間去同佢哋傾。
I'm important to my daddy.
我對我嘅爸爸非常之重要。夠鐘啦！
Boy, that time went fast. We're going to take a break here in a moment.
我哋有
Before
15
we do,
分
you
鐘，
pass me that book.
有15分鐘嘅休息時間。
I happened to see this out there.
我喺出邊睇到呢本書，
So I bought a copy.
所以我買咗本。
It's really good.
似乎係一本好書嚟嘅。
I beg you,
我想邀請你，
if you can,
如果你可以的話，
pick up a copy of this before you leave tonight.
喺今晚你走之前買一本。
You know why?
你知點解？
The value of tonight
今晚嘅價值
will not be anything that I have said.
唔係我所講嘅嘢，
You will forget it.
你會忘記嘅。
Most of you men haven't even taken notes.
你所有嘅男人都冇喺度寫字。
Most Chinese men think they have a photographic mind,
所有中國嘅男人以為佢記得住所有嘅嘢，
but they don't have any film.
但係佢裏邊根本冇菲林嘅。
You won't remember hardly a thing I have said.
你唔會記得我今晚講嘅任何嘢，
The value will come out of this resource.
所以你需要呢本書。
Say, well, one day you push your books to make money.
我一定要賣書，如果唔係冇錢賺。
Well, when you've written 120 bestsellers,
當你寫咗120本最多人睇嘅書之後，
the royalties are millions of US dollars,
你嘅版費係美金幾百萬，
about 49 million.
但係有4900萬。
So keep buying the books.
所以請你買多啲書，
I love it.
我非常之中意，
I love every dollar.
我中意每一蚊。
You've never heard an author say that, have you?
你從來冇聽過任何嘅作者咁講，
However, here's the problem.
但係呢個就係個問題。
41 years ago,
41年之前，
I wrote up a contract,
我寫咗個合同，
and I signed it.
我已經簽咗㗎啦。
And I gave away all royalties for my entire life.
我將我一生嘅版權費，
I've never received a dollar.
我1蚊都冇收過。
Now, my wife thinks that's dumb.
我太太覺得我好愚蠢，
I said, wait a minute, honey.
我話冇所謂。
I signed that contract 41 years ago.
我喺41年前簽咗呢個合同，
You married me 39 years ago.
你喺39年前要同我結婚，
Who's dumb?
邊個愚蠢呢？
So I write books
所以我寫好多書
to help folks like you.
去幫助大家，
That's my only motivation.
呢個係我唯一嘅動機。
I spent this whole afternoon writing.
我呢個成個下晝都寫緊書。
And this would be my gift to you.
呢個係我俾你嘅一份禮物。
But American style, you have to buy it.
不過喺美國人嘅做法，你一定要買嘅。
But I encourage you.
但我鼓勵你買。
Because it goes into more details and everything to understand what I'm saying.
因為佢令到你更加了解我所講嘅一切。
Let's take a break.
所以我哋有15分鐘嘅休息。
Wait a minute. 13.9 minutes.
13.9分鐘。
And then we'll be right back here and we'll finish on time.
而我哋會準時結束嘅。
Let's go. Okay, we've gone through 3 principles.
我哋睇過3個原則。
Acceptance.
第一個係接納。
Appreciation.
讚賞。
And availability.
同埋時間。
The fourth one.
第4個原則。
And this is, I've never been in any culture in the world.
我冇去過任何一個地方嘅文化。
Where in the eyes of the kid.
當小朋友嘅眼睛。
This is one of the 2 most important.
呢個係2個最重要嘅其中之一。
Affection.
就係關愛。
When we express affection to our children.
當我哋向我哋嘅小朋友去表達我哋嘅愛嘅時候
It says one thing.
你表達咗一樣嘢。
I am loved.
我係被愛嘅。
That's what it says.
呢個就係佢講嘅。
Every kid.
每一個小朋友。